Alex, do you think
Derek.
all nicely done there? Do you think all Warriors fans were mostly Clippers fans for most of that game today?
Yes, 100%.
I was thinking that most Warrior fans turned off the Warrior game today and were more concerned with the Clipper game, if I had to guess.
Agreed, because you knew that the Warrior game was well in hand when you score a record 55 points in the first quarter, the most in NBA history. That's just come on, you're gonna know. Well,
Yeah.
this one's in the bag.
Yeah,
It's in the
I was kind
can.
of hoping.
This one's in the can.
I mean, I know they have a game to broadcast and everything, but I was kind of hoping that NBC Sports would do like a split screen or have Bonte do updates on the Clipper game. Because after a while, I was like, okay, I don't care about this game anymore. But we'll talk about it
Yeah,
all today. We'll talk about it all today. Just your opinion, man. Ace Scott, Alexander Scott filling in for Stephen Langford today. I'm Derek Papa. There's so much to discuss. As soon as the Warriors game went final, we got some breaking news in the NFL. We will get to that a little bit later. I'll just tell you right now, Odell Beckham not going to the Jets. He was supposed to visit them tomorrow. Not going to happen. He signs a deal with the Baltimore Ravens, and you got to believe that he knows something about Lamar Jackson that most people don't. But we'll get all to it. I'm going to do some of my draft deep dives today, talk a little bit about the quarterbacks in this year's draft. But hey, Scott, thank you for joining me today again.
yeah, it's exciting, and thank you again for having me on.
Oh, of course. And I needed someone to fill in, so you're
Yeah,
available.
so just yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I'm here. I answered your call.
There you go. Usually you don't. Usually when I need a ride to, for you to go drive me someplace, usually let me hanging. But I appreciate you
Yeah,
doing the
that's true.
podcast
That's
with.
a long. Yeah, it's kind of a long way. Well, you're close now to public transportation. Like
I
before,
know, but back
not
back
not so
back in the
much.
day, you were all about giving me rides, and now you're not
I
about that life.
was I was not definitely not, man. I can't do that. Can't do that no more.
You used to be nice, but somehow
I
along the
used to.
way,
Yeah, I used to. Yeah, it used to be. It's okay.
for most of this podcast, we're going to focus on the Warriors because the regular season just ended, and we have the playoff matchups, and it's going to be very fun. They are playing the Sacramento Kings in the first round. It all gets started um, this upcoming Saturday at 5:30 at the Golden One Center, and you got to believe it's going to be rocking, and it's going to be a whole lot of fun. Real quick before we get to all that, it just ended a couple of minutes ago. John Rahm just won the Masters. So if you're a golf
Just
person,
watched it. Just
yep,
watched it.
very
It's
fun.
very exciting. Yeah, the marathon day today.
Yeah, so it got postponed yesterday because of the rain. So how long do they go
Correct.
today? They
They
started
went
it pretty
for
early this morning.
Yeah, they started pretty early this morning, basically from sunrise and then till sunset. Pretty much, they were playing.
Ah,
So finish up the third
sunrise,
round.
sunset,
That's right,
sunrise, sunset, swiftly through the years, one season following
man.
another.
You just crooning. I like it. It's good.
Crooning Fiddler on the Roof.
Yeah.
My mom used to sing that to me when I was a kid, so it just stuck
Oh,
with me.
very
Anyway,
nice.
continue on with your golf.
Yeah. So they suspended play yesterday, and hopefully, thankfully, the weather cleared up for a beautiful Sunday finish for the Masters. It's always something. It's nice. It's kind of like you finish on a Monday. You know, it's Master
No,
Sunday. It's Easter Sunday.
you always
Yeah.
got to finish the
It's a
Masters
great.
on a Sunday.
Yeah. You can't leave it. You can't leave it to the next day. I mean, come on.
You chewing gum?
No, I'm not.
What the hell's in your mouth?
I had a cracker before we jumped on. I need to get something in my stomach, and I think one of the caraway seeds just got like lodged up in there a little bit. But it's okay.
Well, that's disgusting. Saltine?
No, Trader Joe's everything but the bagel crackers.
Oh, those are good. I
Yeah.
think so. I can't tell if I have those. Regardless, let's get to the Warriors.
Yeah, forget it. Yeah.
So they beat the Portland Trailblazers 157 to 101. And you said it A. Scott, they set an NBA record for 55 points scored in the first quarter. No team has ever done that in NBA history. They tied a franchise record with 27 threes. Oh, sorry, they didn't tie a franchise record. They set a franchise record with 27 threes today. They were 3 away from breaking the single game 3-point record. And all in all, we know the deal. The game was the Warriors were trying to make a playoff run today. They were trying to clinch something, start something special, and get the 4 seed or the 5 seed, the 5 seed or the 6 seed. And the Portland Trailblazers, their season's been over for a little over a week now. So,
Yeah.
It was an impressive game. I mean, when you're downing a game for how long they were, like by 60 points for most of that game, impressive. But again, you were, beating up on somewhat of a G League team today. So,
Yeah.
all in all, from the Kings game on Friday night to the game today, nothing has really changed my mind with how this team has looked for most of the season. And, we'll see how things go. They have a full week to prepare now for the Sacramento Kings. Andrew Wiggins, we'll see how he is implemented back into the team. Also impressive today, Klay Thompson, 300 threes. I think he's the most this season. So the Warriors are playing better. And they also finished with one of their worst road, records of all time. I think I saw a stat where if they were to win a playoff series, they would be the first team with the lowest amount of road wins since the 1984 Jazz, I want to say. I saw.
Wow.
So amongst the playoff teams, you got the Warriors as the worst road team, and you got the Kings tied as the worst home team. So something's got to give here.
Yeah, exactly.
Kings also are one of the best road teams in the NBA this year. So we'll see how it goes. But Alex, let's just react to the matchup. Warriors, they go to the 6th seed because the Clippers, they were struggling a little bit. I know they played yesterday with the Portland Trailblazers on a back-to-back, so they were a little sluggish, but they played their guys, with the exception of Paul George, who's still recovering from that injury. But Kawhi Leonard played, Russell Westbrook played, Terrence Mann played, all the guys played, and they were struggling for about 3 quarters against the Phoenix Suns and their G League team. Damian Lee and all these guys filling in.
Jack Londale.
Yeah. So in the end, the Clippers did pull away with the win. They jump up to 5, and the Warriors go to 6. It must be a good time for the Warriors, and because they've been, for most of our childhood, Alex, they were terrible, along with the Sacramento Kings.
Yes.
Things must have changed where we are rooting for the Warriors to have a lower seed as opposed to a higher seed.
I know, it's weird. It's the craziest thing, right?
Because I was thinking that the whole time today watching the game, and I was like I was rooting on the Clippers, but at the same time I was like, man, this is the only time I would ever do this. Like, the Warriors have a chance at the 5 seed, and we don't want it because, let's be real, the Warriors want to run away from Kevin Durant in the first round. And who knows if we'll see him later on. But it would have been interesting
just
to play
that first
Kevin Durant.
round. Yeah. Just the first round. With how things have gone this year for them, and it's coming at the right time too, because you're trying to get Wiggins back. You basically get a week to implement him back into the offense, back into, just starting or just playing basketball, at the highest level, like we talked about yesterday. And then now you're, a bonus. Okay, you're going up to Sacramento. Like, come on now. This is great. You don't have to completely go across the country, log the miles for that first round series. It's just up I-80, and then you're there.
Yeah, I think a lot of Warrior fans going to make the trip. I would still say there's going to be more Kings fans than Warriors fans with how little of playoff appearances they've made in the last 15 years.
I agree. I think that the Golden One Center is going to be rocking. It could have a Oracle, we believe, kind of atmosphere to it, kind of just unabashed, the roof's going to blow off, to
the beam,
to use that phrase.
The beam's
they're
going
to light the beam. Yeah. The beam might explode.
Yeah. So yeah, it would have been interesting if the Warriors played Phoenix in the first round. Um, but it would have been a lot more drama. It wouldn't have been as fun. It would have been fun as far as the matchup between the two teams that we still very well could see it later on.
Right.
But with all the noise, like we discussed yesterday, it was just going to be a pain in the ass and a headache. So this is a much more fun series because of the proximity, because of the history of the two teams. These two teams have been pretty bad for most of their history. Now, the Warriors obviously have won 4 championships in the last 8 years, so the perception of them has changed. The Sacramento Kings had success in the early 2000s with Chris Webber and that whole group, losing in the Western Conference Finals to the Lakers, and then never really recapturing that. They had success in the 90s. Um, there's so much history with these two teams, like I said, but they never have been good at the same time, and this is why this is so special. And it's a Bay Area thing, even though some people don't consider SAC a part of the Bay Area. It's going to be a Bay Area basketball bonanza, to be using alliteration there. And it's a short trip. Like Draymond Green talked about how the road trips they had to take last year throughout the playoffs, they had to go to Denver and they had to go to Memphis and Dallas and Boston. And now they just take a 2-hour bus ride to go to this, first round playoff series. So it's going to be fun. But you think about, the history of these two teams, Alex, and you love the Warriors and you know the history of, you're a basketball junkie, you know, a part of being a
Yeah.
Warriors fan. So there's
Yeah.
so much familiarity between the two teams. Obviously now, currently with Mike Brown, assistant coach, so long with the Warriors. He's the new head coach of the Kings in his first season, takes them to the playoffs. You got to think he's the hands down favorite for coach of the year. Dante DiVincenzo, their player from a year ago with the Kings, joins the Warriors. And then there's so much history. Mitch Richmond went from the
Oh, that
Warriors and got traded
that
to the
trade
Kings.
just kind of throw things for a monkey, the monkey wrench breaks up Run TMC before they really even got, a chance to see everything that could have played out with those three guys. And we don't know, fans don't know, we don't know what could have been at that point with those guys, because it was only like a 2-year run. I mean, pretty
Yeah,
much.
run.
If
Yeah.
we're gonna, you know, count it down. And then you think about this too. You talk about coaches, players. Okay, Harrison Barnes. Boom.
Yep.
There it is. There's another one right there. Barbosa. There's another.
Yep.
There's another one. He's on staff there
Matt
in
Barnes.
Sacramento. Yeah.
Our guy Gary St. Jean,
Oh yeah. The saintly one.
head coach of the Kings and general manager with the Warriors. Some other coaches, Eric Musselman. Uh,
Oh yeah. That's right.
who's my guy? Keith Smart.
Oh yeah.
I want to say Keith
Played
Sweat
for Andy.
always because
Because you're thinking of Oh yeah, Keith Sweat or Montez Sweat. One of the
yeah,
some Sweat. Yeah. Yeah.
no, just
Exactly.
Keith Sweat because I think of the R&B singer.
Yeah. I got you.
But it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a fun series. Just your initial thoughts, Alex. These two teams. There's never been a hardcore rivalry. I guess in the 2000s there was because both teams were just the Kings were better back then, but there's more of a rivalry in the sense of who's worse or who's not as bad as the other team for the longest time. But now we have
Yeah.
a fun rivalry. So both teams, this season, the Warriors were 3-1 against the Kings, and they just played them on Friday night. And I wonder if Mike Brown wanted to rest De'Aaron Fox and Herter and Sabonis just because he wanted to get more of a scouting look at the Warriors, even though he knows them very well. So, what are your initial thoughts when you think of this series?
It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be loud. It's gonna be entertaining. I'm gonna be locked into this. No doubt about it. Um, I'm excited because I know that these two teams can, they can get up and down the court. They can fill the bucket, fill the stat sheet, and then the fact that it hasn't happened. That's the big thing. It's like it hasn't happened. It's a local thing. Since the Kings moved to Sacramento, you know, it's not. It's like we've said. When one's been good, the other one's been bad. They haven't been consistently good at the same time. And I think even dating back to when the Kings were in Kansas City and when they were the Royals. I don't know. I have to look. I want to say this. I don't think these two teams in their franchise's history, both anytime, have played each other at all.
In the playoffs.
In the playoffs, yes, that's
No,
right.
no,
Yeah,
no,
in
no,
the
no,
playoffs, a playoff
no, no,
series.
no, no. This is I'll confirm with you right now. This is the first time.
Okay, so that alone, just the history between the Warriors dating back to when they were in Philadelphia, San Francisco, and then the Royals when they were in Rochester, and all the different incarnations. This is really cool, and it's like we're I'm just excited for it.
Yeah. No, it's going to be fun, and this Kings team, for the longest time they've had a ton of potential but never lived up to it. They had, who was it? Dave Yeager. Was that the name of the coach?
Yes, yes.
He was head coach for the Kings for a little bit of time, and then he got fired. Then we had Luke Walton, who was with the Warriors for a while as the assistant coach and filled in for Steve Kerr when he was dealing with his back problems. He became the head coach of the Sacramento Kings, and that fell through. And then Mike Brown, he's the one that has found the potential of the Kings, and they've been living up to it this season. I kind of see the Kings as a little bit as kind of the Warriors back in 2013 and 2014 when they made those playoff runs against the Nuggets and Spurs and Clippers. They're
Just building
kind of
up, like
yeah,
building
kind
up.
of
Yeah.
ascending. I don't
Hmm.
know if they're with the way the Western Conference has gone this year. The Kings have been a very fun team and they score a lot of points, but defensively they're not great. But neither are the Warriors this season.
Right.
So I would say that if I had to rank the Western Conference teams, they wouldn't be the third overall team, in my opinion, in the West. I think the
Power
Phoenix Suns
ranking,
are
right?
better.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're doing power rankings.
Yeah.
But they earned that third seed, and they're going to have it to their advantage against the Warriors. But I still think they're a young team. They have zero playoff experience. And with the exception of Sabonis, who went to the playoffs a few times with the Pacers, but or in Harrison Barnes, obviously winning a championship with the Warriors. Um, but they're a young team, and the Warriors are looking to take advantage. You know, to them, they wanted this series because even though the Kings are the third seed, they want to play them more than the Suns. The Suns are more of a threat in their eyes, and they are a better team. Honestly, when we get to the playoffs, I think the Suns are. It could be a mixed bag. It could be that they don't gel because they just started playing with Kevin Durant, or it could be because they have so much more talent than the other teams in the West. We shall see. And I completely understand why they want to play the Kings because they're new and they're green to the playoffs, and it's going to be very interesting. So, Alex, I'll ask you this.
Yeah.
With what we've seen with the Warriors this season, nothing suggests yet that they will look like the team that we saw a season ago or in seasons past as far as being a four-time champion. Have you agreed with that so far this season?
Agreed. Yeah. Definitely.
Okay. And with the Kings, they what did they finish with? Some 48 wins or whatever it was. Yeah,
48 and
48 wins.
34.
Okay. So I'm gonna be interested to see, and I'm sure it's already out from Vegas. The Warriors are probably the favorites in this series, even though they're the sixth seed. But it's primarily based on their past accomplishments and the talent that they have on the team with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, guys that have been there and done that. But as I said, nothing this season so far suggests to me that they have looked anything like what they have been in the past. Now, could they turn it on in the playoffs? Yes, they've done it before. We've seen it. Even when they've had like 58 win seasons, that was disappointing to us. And looking back on that, that's just ridiculous. Like that one season where they were the 2 seed to the Rockets, we were all disappointed with that regular season. And then when the
Yeah.
playoffs came and like a light switch, they just turned it on. Now, in the post game today, everyone acknowledged that the Warriors have to play 10 times better than they have in the regular season so far. Like Steph Curry said, like we got to turn up a notch. Like this, we've played great the last 3 games, but this is not what we're accustomed to. So, with everything that the Warriors have done in the past, how they've looked this season, and what the Kings have accomplished, do you think the Kings should be underdogs in this series?
I mean, they've earned the fact that they've earned the right to be, to be the team. But if you look at the record, The Warriors are 3-1 against them. They just can find a way. You can find a way, to win. This is one thing that we could get into a little bit right now, but if you look at it statistically across the board, the best starting five in the NBA is Curry, Thompson, Wiggins, Green, and Looney. That's better than Denver's. It's better than Boston's. It's better than Philly's right now. In defensively, they're better too. So
They just haven't shown it this season, though.
correct. But if you look, yeah, if you look at when those five players play on the court with the numbers say that they're the best, and they have a lot of talent, and we know this just because we watch and we know that they can turn it on. They can make that switch. I think the biggest thing too, like we talked about yesterday, the fact that Kuminga's getting this great experience, the fact that you can throw him as a different look again, to say, hey, go get us a bucket or get a dunk, go something, drive, get that offensive rebound and slam it, for something as a different, look, DiVincenzo. All right, come on, it's time to, stripe those threes. Let's go. All these different, things that they can throw out at teams. And like I said, the week off is huge. It's huge because I'm sure they're like, all right, whew, we can breathe a sigh of relief that we don't have to jump into the play-in tournament, and that, okay, we're going to Sacramento. We're not going, somewhere, far, or it's going to be a tough matchup. Now, Phoenix isn't it's not a long flight, but it's Phoenix. We know that we just said it. They provide a very tough matchup, size, skill, across the board. Their starting five it's big. You can't just shake your nose at that and just be like, yeah, it'll be they'll win. They'll win. They got Durant's number. They got Chris Paul's number. Nah, that's a tough matchup. It's scary, and they're not as strong. You know what I mean? It's not like, okay, here we go. It's a first round series. Snooze. We can just move on to the next. They're gonna win this one, no matter what. This isn't gonna be tough. No, it'll be a cakewalk. No, it's tough. It's gonna be tough. If they were to face Phoenix, like you said, I think this is gonna be a fun matchup. I think there's gonna be a lot of points scored, which, heck, that's always a good time. You know what I mean? They're going to keep the crowd entertained. It's going to be boom, 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 back and forth, running up and down the court, track meet out there in Sacramento and in San Francisco.
Yeah. I think that whenever Andrew Wiggins comes back, and I would assume that I mean, at this point, I would think he'd have to come back for that first game if we're starting to take things, seriously in the playoffs. And I like I said yesterday, I know what Steve Kerr is doing. I know what Rick Celebrini is doing. I just think, though, with how the other teams were kind of laying down against the Warriors, you could have made some time for Andrew Wiggins to play just to get his body going a little bit. But if he's not ready, he's not ready. But that was in the back of my mind watching these games the last 3 days, I should say. It's just that I thought Andrew Wiggins could have got a little bit of run, but it is what it is. Yeah, I think that the Warriors and Kings, as far as should they be an underdog, the Kings? Yes, but it's not fair because the Kings have accomplished a lot more than the Warriors have this season. They've looked like the better team for most of the season, but things change once we get to the playoffs. And, like we said, the inexperience of the Kings, I think, is going to be a big deal. I think that Steve Kerr knowing Mike Brown is going to be a big deal, but also Mike Brown knows Steve Kerr. And, if they somehow manage to win the NBA Finals with how lackadaisical they were for most of this regular season, then I think all of us should never question this team again. And they very well could. Like, wouldn't that be a great last dance if everything happens for the Warriors this season and then they win the championship and, we'll see what happens with Bob Myers then. We'll see what happens with Draymond Green then. But we thought this was going to be the beginning of the end, and I don't know. Like, this team, it's kind of like in the past with, like your San Francisco Giants when they were the wild card team in 2014. Back then they were the 5th seed wild card team. Now they've expanded the playoffs, but they were the very last team to make the playoffs.
Right.
And then they, just because of their past experiences, they were able to go on a run. And this Warriors team could do that. I think that if I had to say right now, we got a whole week to talk about this stuff, but I would say right now the Warriors should be the favorites over the Kings just based on their past experience. Now, should the Kings use that as motivation and bulletin board material and everything? Absolutely, they should.
100%.
Their fans should, their fans are going to, let's be real. Like I'm sure, Bay Area radio between Sacramento and San Francisco is going to be a lot of shit talking, and it's going to be fun. And I think that, Kings fans and the Kings themselves should look at it as motivation to say, like, oh, okay, you wanted to play us? We're the 3rd seed. Suns are on the 4th seed. You wanted to play us? Okay. And that's crazy to think like that. But that's just, ways you use to motivate yourself. So I don't know. I think that the Warriors should be favorites, and it's unfair to be a 3rd seed and be the underdog. But until the Kings prove it, I like the Warriors' chances in the series. And I'll ask you this, Alex.
Yeah.
You just said that the Warriors lineup of Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Andrew Wiggins, and Kevon Looney is arguably the best in basketball. So do you like the chances amongst any of these teams in the Western Conference when those 5 guys are playing?
Yes. I like their chances. I like their chances a lot.
Just because
you can't. I mean, people want to say you can't just say throw that away. You can't just say they'll turn it on. You can't just shake your nose at that and just be like, nah, that's not going to happen. These guys are talented players. They know how to win. The core 3 know how to get the job done. When all 3 of them have been healthy, they've not lost a playoff series. When they've not also won playoff games on the road for consecutive playoff series. I don't know. I don't have the number off the top of my head, but I know it's a very large number that they can win on the road in the playoffs. We said playoffs are different. It's not just some regular season game, and you look here, they had to fight for the 6th seed. They had to fight to get into, where they're at right now. Okay. Talk about championship hangover. You talk about everything that went on in the beginning of the year with the punch and all of that. You talk again, a short off season. You're basically 2 months like behind some of these teams who ended their season in April 9th or whatever the last day of the year was. You didn't end until like the end of June. And then you're going to Japan too. Think about that. They made mention of that too. You can't just like say, whatever. If you had a lineup that was like talent all the way down, boom, 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 and then just say, whatever, and you get out to a large lead, in the standings, and you can, okay, I can take my foot off the gas right now. I can wait. I can relax. Then I get it. But that was not the case this year. Every season's different. Had ups, they've had downs. We look back at this too. Houston Rockets won the championship 93, 94. They come to run it back 94-95, and they're the 6th seed in 94-95. And you look at the people that they had on that roster too. It's Olajuwon, Clyde, still Kenny Smith, and some of these guys. And they fought their way to get back to it. Played Utah in the first round. Then you get San Antonio, Phoenix, and then you get a very tough Orlando Magic team who was young, right? That experience propelled that. You can't just say, "Oh, experience doesn't matter." It does. There's a way. Those guys will find a way when their backs are up against the wall and they need to win the game. They'll find a way to win the game.
Let me ask you this too, as a lifelong Warriors fan, with what they've accomplished as well if they were to lose to the Sacramento Kings in the first round? Would you see it as a disappointment, or would you just see it as, all right, this is the way the season ended? I'm good with what they've accomplished in the last 8 years.
I'm more of the second, because it's like, okay, yeah, if we knew, we knew going into this, if you sat down, you're just like, God, they're an awful watch this year. God, they're terrible. God, this is what's going on, and you're like, if they, yeah, heck, it would be an accomplishment just to make it to the playoffs. At this, you know what I mean? You'd be like, oh wow, they made it. Oh wow, oh whoa, that's a surprise. That's oh, that's interesting. You know, and if they lost, okay, then they lost, and we knew that they weren't as let's see, they just were not locked in from the get go.
They weren't motivated. They got very
Yeah,
complacent this season, and we knew that in years past where they kind of were sleepwalking through the regular season. They never have
but then
gone
at
as
that point they
hard.
could. But that point, that point they could sleepwalk through the regular season because of who they had on their team. I would say last year, it's like, okay, well, these guys, they still gotta prove it. They still gotta prove to come back here, because it was a very tough go of it. You get into the playing game the year before, and you don't. It's just kind of like, this
Yeah,
doesn't look good. You need a little
they
bit more composed team around you, and you still Clay hadn't come back. Some of the moves that they made in free agency they didn't pan out well, as clearly we can see, is since James Wiseman, he's already out of town. It didn't work. Just didn't work.
yeah. I think that yes, part of me says that their past experience will help them. That they really just went through a championship hangover season, but they could turn it on in the playoffs too. They turned it on when they needed to, and they made the playoffs. And I also think they view this as not really a strong Western Conference as well, so they could afford to be the sixth seed. You look at the standings, and you got the Denver Nuggets that won 53 games. You got the Memphis Grizzlies that won 51 games. The separation between the Kings and Warriors was only 4 games. Now, I do believe that the Kings were the better team for most of the regular season, but it just shows that there weren't really very strong Western Conference teams this season. Like the benchmark for like a great team usually is if you won 50 plus games. And in the Western Conference, you only had 2 teams that did that. And also, looking at the Western Conference, you look at the Nuggets. Yes, they had a great regular season, but are they going to be more than just like a Utah Jazz team that got a number 1 seed a couple years ago and didn't make it to the Western Conference Finals? They have, Jokic, and they have Jamal Murray and everything, but they haven't really done a lot in the playoffs besides coming back 3-1 down to the Clippers that are in the bubble and lost to the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals. The Grizzlies, they beat the Warriors in the play-in a couple seasons ago, but they lost to them. The Warriors have the Grizzlies' number, and if they play each other again, that will make for great theater. But then again, who's to say that if Ja Morant is healthy for that series last year, for the remainder of it, that they
It
would have
doesn't.
gone
Yeah, it
on
goes
to
that way,
beat them?
right?
Who knows? And then, the Phoenix Suns is a 4 seed. Like, they should be better than that. And I would say maybe on paper they are the best team in the Western Conference. So if I had to say right now, just looking at the teams in the Western Conference now, the teams that I have the most confidence in are the Suns and the Warriors. I don't know when Paul George is coming back for the Clippers. I do like Kawhi Leonard when he is healthy, and he kind of, did load
I don't know what
management for the
yeah.
whole regular season.
Yeah, I don't
So
know. I mean, he can't, and you can see, he does when he turns it on, when he wants to play, when he's feeling good. He's a very dangerous player. He's a weapon out there. I mean, even when he was with Toronto, heck, when he was in San Antonio, it was just like, oh, I don't know what we're gonna do about this. I don't know what they're gonna do about this guy.
Well, remember when he was dealing with whatever injury he had with the Spurs, and Greg
Yeah,
Popovich was like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, he's making it up. And it got to the point now where the Spurs, were having team meetings saying, like, Kawhi, like, doctors say you're healthy. Let's go. And then he wanted to leave. He got traded to the Raptors. And I remember me and Bonte, we went to that final game at Oracle where they lost to the Raptors. And even after Kawhi Leonard won the championship, he was walking around hobbled. And I don't know if he's ever fully recovered from whatever injury he's had. Maybe he's just good at, making it look like he can get by on the basketball court. I wonder if that guy is ever going to be fully healthy like he was once back in the day when he was, very young and being the MVP for the Spurs back when they won against the Heat. But just as far as the Western Conference, like I said, Alex, I think that the teams that I'm most confident in are the Warriors and the Suns, just based on what they've accomplished in the past. The Suns, made it to the NBA Finals a couple seasons ago. So did the Lakers, but I really don't know about this Lakers team. They'll be in the playing game. So would you agree
It's a
that
completely it's a completely different Lakers team
Yeah,
than the one who won in the bubble. I mean, you still have the same, obviously the same components there with LeBron and AD, but everybody else it's
oh yeah.
it's completely different.
So would you agree though that if you had to say which teams you're most confident in the Western Conference, which teams would you say?
That's probably, just based off of a comprised roster, I would probably it'd be Suns, Warriors, and I'd even say I'd throw the Clippers in. I'd throw the Clippers in there just because of who they have on their team and who their coach is. You can't just say, oh, that was a title, whatever. He won it. He won a title. He is a good tactician as a coach. They have some
Ty
good
Lue?
players on their team. Yeah, they have good players on their team. They are. It's not like, oh my God, super flashy, but heck, Kawhi. We talked about him. You know, Russ. You got a former MVP. You got a former MVP. You got someone who's made deep runs in the playoffs.
Yeah,
And heck,
I'm not
even think about this
not a
too.
big fan, but yeah.
I know. Yeah, no, I'm not. I understand. You cannot be a big fan, but you can just say I'm just listing what the guy's
No, I know.
done.
They
And then
they
you
they
look at
you
this too for this matchup. You get KD versus Russ in the first round. How
Oh
much
yeah,
fun is that? Like, come
I didn't even think
on.
about that. I didn't even think about that. And they never played against each other in the playoffs, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah,
Um, no, I mean Russell Westbrook's been used a lot better with the Clippers than he was with the Lakers.
hundred
Um,
percent.
but it's interesting to me that both of us kind of are more confident in the 4, 5, and 6 seeds than we are in the 1, 2, 3 seeds in the West.
It's because they're young. It's because
Yeah,
it's just because of the inexperience that they have composed as rosters. It doesn't. Again, it's nothing about talent. It's nothing about this, that. It's just they don't have a lot of playoff experience, like deep runs in the playoffs. None of them have made a finals. They haven't.
yeah, exactly. So just looking through how the West went down. Nuggets 1, Grizzlies 2, Kings 3, Phoenix 4, Clippers 5, Warriors 6, and then the play-in teams: Lakers 7, Timberwolves 8, Pelicans 9, Oklahoma City 10. So that was, today was fun. Just watching everything. Um, I really think
I
NBA
can
TV kind of
confirm.
go
I
for it.
can confirm that there is like a red zone. It just is. I think it's just on their app, the crunch time
See,
deal.
I was just about to bring this up. So I'm watching the Warrior game, and I really thought that NBC should have done a split screen, but I completely understand that they can't do that because I don't think LA has an NBC local affiliate,
Their
so they can't
ballot,
do
their
that.
ballot,
Yeah, exactly.
or
So
whatever prime ticket, whatever it
Spectrum,
became. Yeah,
Spectrum,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. They got a bunch of. They got. There's too many deals down there. You used to live down there.
Oh yeah. But NBA TV, yes, the Jared Greenberg NBA app, whatever thing, that should have been on NBA TV. Then whatever they were doing, like
The whole
whatever,
time.
yeah, like the game time, like they would cut in with the Jared Greenberg red zone thing. And at one point, they split the screen down the middle because the Pelicans and Timberwolves game was predicated on the Clippers game. If the Clippers would have lost, there was a possibility that Clippers could have been in the play-in, depending on what happened
Correct.
between the Timberwolves and the Pelicans. If the Pelicans won that
Right.
game, then I think the Clippers would have fallen down. But for whatever reason, they went to that for a little bit, and then they went to the game time thing with Isaiah Thomas and Dennis Scott, whoever was there on the news desk, and then they started throwing a LeBron James sound during the Clippers Suns game and Pelicans and Timberwolves, and I was like, "What the fuck are you guys doing? Go to the two
I was
games."
I was right there with you. I'm watching it. I'm kind of like I'm looking at it and it's like, oh, this is great. This is great. And then they cut away to and I was like, why are we cutting away from this? This game doesn't matter. The game in LA doesn't matter.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
was
like
surprised.
why do I need to see LeBron hit a deep three for whatever? It wasn't like, oh my gosh, they needed to hit that three in order for them to
Yeah, exactly.
absolutely win. It wasn't that case. The other two games, it was more thrilling. It was more, intense because it's like, okay, this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens. Like, I want to know that the match, those games. That honestly, if they were smart, that is exactly what would have been on NBA TV all day long.
I agree. This is
And then
where,
at the end of it, and when everything went final, you could then
yeah.
have everything determined, and there'd be no like questions about scenarios. Those would all get done right then and there.
Yeah, I don't know what the restrictions are with NBA TV and RSNs and everything, but this is where, you know, everyone complains about the NFL monopolizing everything with, sports, but they do it right when it comes to this shit. I thought NBA TV dropped the ball big time. They could have done the whole Jerry Greenberg, NBA app thing on their broadcast, and that would have been 10 times better than what they were trying to do today with, live look-ins occasionally. Again, I don't know what the restrictions are, so they very well could have been, hampered from doing that.
In their
But
contract, right? For whatever it is. Yeah.
yeah, but I thought that they just dropped the ball today. Regardless, it was fun. It was entertaining, especially that Pelicans and Timberwolves game. I had no idea that that game was going to be the fight for the 8 or 9 seed. So the matchups in the first round that we know of, as far as the playing games, it's going to be Hawks at the Heat, Timberwolves at Lakers, and that's really interesting with considering all the trades that the Timberwolves and Lakers made this season. And then you got Bulls at Raptors and Thunder at Pelicans. As far as the first round playoff matchups that we already know are going to happen, Clippers will take on the Suns. We mentioned that already. And in the East, 76ers will play the Nets and the Cavs will play the Knicks. And we knew that a couple days ago, too. But just watching the Pelicans and Timberwolves game, that was entertaining for a lot of reasons. I didn't know the playoff implications, so when that was said, I was like, okay, this is a fun game to watch now. And Anthony Edwards and everybody played fantastic. But prior to all that, if you've watched a lot of Timberwolves basketball this season, I didn't know how this move was going to be made or how this move was going to pan out for them. When the Timberwolves traded for Rudy Gobert, I was like, that's interesting. I really don't see him fitting with them. And that's been the case for most of the season. I've seen a few games from the Timberwolves. I have a little brother who's a diehard Timberwolves fan. Tom Tolbert's buddy, Jim Peterson, comes on to talk about the Timberwolves.
Yeah.
They may have made a huge mistake getting Rudy Gobert because he does not fit what they do. And Naz Reid is more of a fit in what they do, and he's going to be a free agent this offseason. And he's not going to be healthy for the playoffs.
I like Naz Reid.
Everyone that's a
He's a good
Timberwolves
player,
fan says that Naz Reid's the guy, and if they could, they would get rid of Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert may have done that to himself today. He punches Kyle Anderson during the game and then is told to leave the arena. So he goes home, and then the Timberwolves get their harmony back and win the game. And I don't think that bodes well for Rudy Gobert in the playoffs at all. I wonder how they'll use him in the playing game if he's played at all. I've always said that Rudy
I
Gobert.
don't think he is. I don't think he's going to play.
That's the thing is Rudy Gobert has always been a fantastic regular season player, defensive player of the year. I don't know how many times, but in the playoffs, you can go at him. I don't know what it is, but every time I've seen that Utah Jazz team play in the playoffs, he does not play well. So with what happened today,
they just got to file a missing persons report for him every time
exactly.
it comes April around.
So with what happened today with him punching Kyle Anderson,
oh my God.
If I was the Timberwolves, I would get rid of him. I would want to sign back Naz Reid on this team because they have a good young team with Anthony Edwards and Mike Conley and Karl Anthony Towns. They don't need Rudy Gobert. I would trade him away and have Naz Reid come back.
Yeah. I don't know why they made the move in the first place. I don't get it. It didn't make any sense to me.
As far as those playing,
just from the get-go.
Yeah, exactly. As far as the play-in games, Alex, which one of these play-in games is the most interesting to you?
honestly, I I know we talked about it yesterday, but I think it's just I think the Pelicans Thunder. I think that's great for OKC with their young guys. That'll be fun. That's gonna be a fun game to watch.
Yeah. No, I think all those playing games will be fun. But yeah, I mean, Timberwolves and Lakers will be fun. Pelicans and Thunder will be fun. They'll all be fun. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the
I
Lakers
would
do after they play this game. If they can make a, they'll if they win the game, they'll be the 7th seed and have to play the Grizzlies in the first round. But we'll see how that goes. Yep.
well, I'll say this, like in looking at it, I think the West playing games are much better than the East ones.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah, because you look at it, it's just like you know, Toronto, what are you doing? What are you doing for me? You know what I mean? You're not doing much for me. You know what I mean? Chicago, they just kind of tapered off, and they don't have everything rolling with them.
Right.
And Miami's always Miami's Miami. They're always they're Spoelstra is a great coach, and that'll be good. As Atlanta's just right in middle of the road.
Yeah. Um. No, we'll see what happens with those playing games. Also, just some news that came out today as far as the NBA. Steven Silas fired as the Rockets head coach. Thought he got kind of a raw deal there. That team was never ready to win, and they didn't put him in a good position to coach that team. So if the Warriors lose any assistant coaches this offseason to a head coaching position, because Kenny Atkinson was so close to becoming the Charlotte head coach, I wouldn't mind Steve Kerr going after Steven Silas as an assistant coach. That would be a good move.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe Steven Silas was a Warriors assistant at one point a very long time ago.
Was he?
Like I think I want to make I want to just I remember hearing about this. I want to make sure. I'm gonna check. I'm just
I'm
checking
looking
this
up
really.
right now.
Okay.
Yes, he was 2006 to 2010. So he was a part of the We Believe coaching staff. Did not know that.
Then you get him, like right with Steph too when he was starting. Right when he was starting out, that was first. I think that was his first year.
Yeah,
I think he
2009.
was
Yeah,
basically on Nelly's like last staff.
yeah, yeah. And then Dwayne Casey out as Pistons head coach, and he'll remain as, I guess, general manager with the team or some front office position. So those are your NBA last day of the season coaching moves. Let's move over to the NFL real quick, Alex.
All
Some
right.
breaking news that happened today, right after the Warriors clinched the 6th seed. Yesterday, after we got done with the podcast, I got a notification that Odell Beckham Jr. was going to go meet with the Jets on Monday, and I thought that's the start of it, because everything that I've read and everything that was reported, it sounded like Odell Beckham was going to join the New York Jets. We saw him flirting with the Jets at the Arizona, owners meetings, or the league meetings, I should say. Everybody meets, and there's always been a flirtation with Aaron Rodgers and Odell Beckham, and I guess Robert Saleh went to a Phoenix Suns game while he was in Arizona. He went with Odell Beckham. So we all thought this was going to be shaping up to where Odell Beckham was going to join the New York Jets. And there was always the rumors of what kind of money he was looking for. Like at first it was 20, and then he was looking for 15, and then he tweets out last weekend that he, doesn't need that amount of money, or he wants to know where the rumors are coming from. Regardless, money talks. Right after the Warriors game is done, I get a notification from my phone, and I see that Odell Beckham Jr. has agreed to a deal with the Baltimore Ravens, and I was shocked. I was like, what? Because when I saw that he was talking with the Ravens, I thought it was just kind of him doing his due diligence, because you have to believe that he was like, why would I go to this team if Lamar Jackson's not going to be there?
We talked
So,
about that yesterday. We talked about it. We said that. Why on here yesterday, just yesterday about that.
and then you see what he gets paid. He got a 1 year deal worth $18 million, so close to what he wanted with 20, and 15 million of it is guaranteed, fully guaranteed. So, kind of ironic that Ravens are handing out almost fully guaranteed contracts. They don't want to deal with their quarterback, but I complete that's like apples to oranges comparison. But yeah, Odell Beckham going to go to the Baltimore Ravens, and this move is interesting to me just because what the hell is going to happen with Lamar Jackson? Did Odell just make this move because he wanted a a $20 million contract? It sounded like he called the Jets up too and said, "Can you match the Ravens offer?" And they were like, "No," and that was never going to be the case. The Jets were going to add Odell Beckham as part of a luxury position because they're pretty set at wide receiver. Garrett Wilson's their number one guy. Corey, they still have Corey Davis, but if Odell was going to join them, I thought he was going to be gone. They signed Alan Lazard. They also traded for Elijah Moore. No, sorry, not Elijah Moore. Mecole Hardman. Elijah Moore got traded to the Cleveland Browns, and Odell would have made probably like pushed them over. Just as far as like an explosive team, like the Rams didn't need Odell Beckham when they signed him, but he added something to them until they lost Robert Woods, and then he became,
Right.
a necessity. Odell was not a necessity on the Jets. It would have made them, you know, fun to watch and crazy, but they didn't need him. So I think they survived this. They were never going to be able to pay him $18 million a year. It looks as
Yeah.
if Odell took the money and the Ravens made an offer he couldn't refuse. They really overpaid for him, in my opinion, for a guy that has, coming off an ACL tear, hasn't played in a year, and you don't know what you're getting. Plus, was this move just to entice Lamar Jackson to come back? Did they give any assurances to Odell that Lamar Jackson's coming back? To me, if Odell wanted to win, he should have gone to the Jets. But if he wanted to get paid, he made the right move and went to the Ravens.
Make that money. If he knew, well, it is. You look at that, and when you get offered that amount of money, I mean, you're basically he's like, okay, it's basically between 15 and 20 million, and then he got 18, which is right in the middle. So there you go. There you go. He gets his money. He's gonna get he's gonna get paid. Does this like satisfy? Does it really satisfy the need for Lamar to stay there? I don't think so. I just think it's just a splashy move because like you said, you don't know what he has. You don't know if he's going to be, 100%. He's not this look, he's not the same guy that was making the one-handed catch in New York. He's not. You know what I mean? Heck, he's not even the same guy that was in LA. We don't know, but we don't know. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you look at their receiving room. I mean, yeah, it makes it interesting, but not like, oh wow, we gotta watch out for the Ravens receivers. Gotta watch out for them. Not even
Yeah,
close.
I think. Well, that's the difference too. Is also that he would not have been the number one guy with the Jets. It would have been Garrett Wilson,
Yeah.
and he is the number one guy with the Ravens. Um, Now they also picked up Nelson Aguilar this offseason. They got the guy they drafted a couple of years ago, Rashad Bateman, who I guess is very close with Odell. So I don't know. I mean, I don't particularly like this
Doesn't
move
make any difference, bro, dude. It makes no difference. It
between what.
I'm not for them. Like it doesn't make a big a little bit, but it's just like now if you were gonna say that if this was the move that he's going from New York when he was with the Giants to the Ravens, then I'd be like, oh my gosh, this is great. This is huge, but it's not. It's not. So good on you. Get the money. See what
Yeah.
let's see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really expecting much, to be honest. I don't, Lamar, we got to see if he wants to come back, and if they're going to make him more of a drop back passer, then I think this is a good move. But I can also see Odell getting frustrated with what the Ravens do in their offensive wide receivers. Now, it could be totally different than what was run with Greg Roman and everything. Now that they got, I think his name's Todd Monken or something for the Baltimore Ravens,
Oh
their
yeah,
OC.
yeah, yeah,
So it could be more of a spread out pass offense. But then again, that kind of hurts Lamar Jackson and what his abilities are. If Odell signed this deal with just, okay, well, if Lamar comes back, cool. If not, whatever. I got paid. Ugh. I mean, he could have gone to better places, in my opinion. He could have gone to the Jets. He could have gone to the Patriots. He could have gone to the Bills. In the end, he just, he wanted
could
to
have gone to
secure
Dallas.
that
He could have
bag.
gone to Dallas too.
Yeah, but I think they already decided that they wanted CD Lamb as, or
Yeah.
sorry, not CD Lamb, Brandon Cooks more than Odell Beckham.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And it's a huge risk with Odell too because you don't know what type of player you're getting. So I thought that the Jets would have been a good spot for him. He would have had to sign for minimal money. He would have had to sign for a 1 year, probably $6 million deal or something less than that. Um, but I don't know. A lot of pressure is going to be put on Lamar to come back now and play with Odell. Um, so yeah, I don't really know if this is a good move, but it's the move that he wanted to make in the end. So I thought that it would have been really fun to see Odell on that team with Aaron Rodgers and all the weapons they have, and the focus wouldn't be on Odell. He wouldn't have to be the guy. He could relax a little bit, and he would, if he was back to being the person he was before, he would eat defenses alive with the coverage he was getting, or it would open things up for Garrett Wilson, or it would open things up for Alan Lazard. But now I don't know. The Ravens, they got Nelson Aguilar, they got him, they got Mark Andrews. We'll see how it goes. This is all contingent on Lamar Jackson coming back and being the Baltimore Ravens quarterback if the Ravens are not willing to pay him. And it sounds like they're not.
It's gonna be a
So,
bad. This is just this is setting up to be a bad move. Like I can already see it. Like I can see him getting upset. On the side, I can see it. I'm looking at it. I can see the purple right now. Because of the background, he's gonna be enraged in purple. Just da 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 da. Da. It's like. Then
yeah.
you're gonna see John Harbaugh up there. He's just gonna be like,
Yeah.
just kind of like looking around awkwardly. Just what did we do? DaCosta,
Yeah, I
what did
mean,
you do? What did you do? What did you do to me?
yeah. I don't know what how it will go or what the end or the fallout will be with Lamar Jackson, but yeah, I quite questionable move. I mean, I get it for Odell's point of view, like he wanted to get money, and it's tough when he's had to deal with the injury and everything. It's hard to pass up a $15 million deal that's fully guaranteed, um, or just the 15. He got an $18 million deal, so he could make some 3 million up with incentives. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if this was the right move for him, but we'll see how it goes, and we'll see what the fallout is now with the Jets because they wanted to make this move. It would have been splashy. It would have added to the whole Broadway scene of them kind of like being the it team in New York over the Giants right now. Um, and we'll see what Aaron Rodgers' reaction is to this. It was on his wish list. He would have liked to have Odell, but it's tough when you got to pay Aaron Rodgers his money and ask other guys to take a little bit of a pay cut. So I think this move also does keep Corey Davis with the Jets. He's a solid receiver, so I thought that if they were going to get Odell, they probably would have moved on from him. But now you could probably keep him because he brings something, that they have like shiftier receivers with Garrett Wilson and Mecole
Hardman,
Hardman. Yeah,
Lazard, and then you get Lazard, and then okay,
and
you
you
get
have
Davis is solid. Yeah,
yeah, they have bigger receivers with Alan Lazard and Corey Davis, so they're still pretty stacked. But we'll just see how long it takes for this Aaron Rodgers deal to get done. I guess the latest is we talked about it yesterday, but the latest is that it could get done on draft day. So And also probably Odell just got tired of waiting. Like there was no like it's crazy for him to pick between the Baltimore Ravens and New York Jets, where it seems like the Jets are more of a sure thing with their quarterback, even though he's not currently on the team, than the Ravens right now, because they don't know if Lamar Jackson's going to want to play this season.
Yeah. Tough times, man. I mean, yeah, you make a great point that it's like, hey, I need to get paid. Like, I'm not gonna sit on my ass again. You know what I mean? If you're gonna offer me the money, hey, I gotta take this money. I gotta
Yeah,
go.
but also I thought that he was kind of being unrealistic, and the fact that the team actually entertained this, I thought was kind of ridiculous, to be honest. He should have come back on a 1 year deal, and it would have been for $5 million. Like that would have been fine with me
To
for the
LA.
Jets. No, no, no,
Okay,
no,
yeah,
no,
yeah.
for the Jets.
Okay. Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Low risk. It's minimum. Yeah,
I
and
think
then you
also
can
this is a
incentivize it too. So it's not really
yeah.
that big of a hit.
I think that this is also a desperate move by the Ravens to entice Lamar Jackson to come back. And if I was Lamar, this wouldn't change anything for me. So I don't know. I mean, at some point though, with Lamar, when no one's calling for you, it may be good to come back with the Ravens and see if whatever they offered in the past you can get. I was listening to an interview with Steve Keim on Greenlight podcast, Chris Long's podcast, and Steve Keim, got fired with the Arizona Cardinals, but really insightful with everything that he was talking about. And they asked him about the Lamar Jackson contract and how he would handle that, and he said, "Well, first of all, fully guaranteed contracts are ridiculous in the NFL. They should not be given out. I don't mean to be disrespectful to any players or anything, but with the risk and the injury that goes with that, it's just not a good business move to make as far as general managers and teams. And the Deshaun Watson deal is not a comp to anything that anyone's going to get in the future. And this Steve Keim saying this, where he was saying that the Browns were going to make that deal in order to sign Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson did not want to go to the Cleveland Browns until they offered that deal. So everything now with Lamar Jackson expecting to have the same type of contract is unrealistic. That he needs to realize that the Browns were just being stupid and that he's not going to get the same deal. And it's unfair, and it's really unfair. But that's just how it is. Everyone else is pissed at the Cleveland Browns for what they did and with Deshaun Watson, and now everyone has to go through these contract negotiations when a new quarterback is up with a contract. But if anyone else is expecting to get fully guaranteed money like that, they're not going to get it.
Yeah, it's you think about that, you look at those numbers and you're like, "Oh, I'm guaranteed there's no way that I can make any less than this." Yeah. Yeah, I don't care if I'm playing for I don't care if I'm playing for Cleveland. Yeah, I'd do that too. Come on. Do it. You would too. Anybody would. Y'all would.
Yeah. Should we move on to some of my NFL? So last year, Alex, I did a little NFL draft deep dives where
Okay.
I go through each position group because it's April and we're 3 weeks away from the draft, and I want to start boning up on some of these prospects. Yeah,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah, I'm with
well,
it. I'm with it. You know me. I'm with it. I'm excited. I'm excited about this. I'm excited
all
about
right.
the draft in Kansas City.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun in a couple weeks. And a lot of stuff going on with the quarterbacks and whatnot. So wanted to do a deep dive on those real quick. So let me go through these. The quarterbacks for the NFL draft coming up. Haven't done a lot of didn't watch a lot of tape on these guys prior. Obviously I know Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud. Watched a lot of college football during the season, but I just wanted to see a little bit more of just break it down a little bit and see how much I like them as far as NFL prospects. So Steven was joking with me last time when I told him I was going to do this, and he was like, "Oh, so you're just going to watch the highlights and see, how good they play all the time?" I'm like, "No, I want to see how they perform when they're not in good situations too." So I went back, and YouTube has great cut-ups of every throw of guys during games. So I went and watched, all these quarterbacks and their losses or in their bowl games, or just times where they didn't perform as well as like they're playing some, some college team that needs the money, so they explode for 500 yards and 5 touchdowns. So let me go through these guys real quick. C.J. Stroud. Oh, sorry, go ahead. You can say something.
Nothing. I just the money. All right, We're gonna. All right, let's pop in the tape. Alabama against the Citadel. Let's go. Let's do it. Let's
Yeah,
get
exactly.
that going. Yeah, yeah.
So C.J. Stroud, I watched, and I like him the most out of all the quarterbacks in this year's draft. I think that he's the most poised and the most NFL ready, I would say. Um, he's got the build of a starting quarterback in the NFL. He's a pure passer. He runs when he needs to, but he's not going to look to run all the time. He just does it as an out of necessity when he has to. Um, and yeah, I like his build a lot better than Bryce Young. That's the difference there. I see C.J. Stroud. I watched a lot of I watched the game against Michigan this past season, and while they didn't win that game, it wasn't really on him. He did make a dumb throw towards the end where he's kind of flipped the ball up in the air and it was intercepted by a linebacker. But C.J. Stroud, for the most part, doesn't make the dumb decisions. He is really good at doing the play action fake to the left with the running back and then moving the pocket to the right and throwing deep. Really good at that. Just a really an accurate passer. Um, if I had to comp him to somebody, I would say Joe Burrow a little bit, where you don't think of Joe Burrow as a runner, but he does it when he needs to, and C.J. Stroud could do that as well. So if I had to pick who's the top quarterback in this upcoming draft, I think that the Carolina Panthers should take C.J. Stroud. Now, as far as the other guy, Bryce Young, really good as well. Pure passer. I wouldn't think of him as a runner, but he's more elusive and more, nimble in the pocket a little bit where he can get out of situations. C.J. Stroud could do that as well, but I would say Bryce Young's a little shiftier. Um, and I watched his games. I watched when he lost to Georgia twice. Or sorry, not when he lost to Georgia. He only lost them once in the national championship game, where he struggled a little bit. They were bringing on full blitzes, and that kind of bothered him a little bit. I saw the game where he did play well against Georgia, and the biggest thing about C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young is that they have a lot of talent around them. So what's it going to be like when they go to these NFL teams that are not as stacked as a full Alabama squad? But
or full
they,
Ohio State, or yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
exactly. But they play great, and I think that they are the two best quarterbacks in this draft, hands down. Obviously, and I think that Bryce Young, if I had to comp him to somebody, I would say probably Kyler Murray, where he's shifty, he can move, he has a great arm, pure passer in my opinion, but he does have a small frame, and he's about I want to say 5'10", so he's around the same height as Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray, though, I don't think is 5'10". He's just listed as that. And he's kind of scrawny a little bit. So I do think that Bryce Young, he's going to take some shots a little bit when he starts getting in the league, where I think that C.J. Stroud can kind of, absolve those hits more. So I like C.J. Stroud. I like Bryce Young. I like C.J. Stroud a little bit better because he's more of a sure thing, where Bryce Young could be, just an explosive player. But there's going to be some times where you wonder if he's a little too small, as well. But there's a lot of
It's
small.
a frame. Yeah, it's a frame. The frame is the biggest thing that you have in question. When you look at
Exactly.
a guy that's 6'3", that's 6'3", about two. Let's see, he's 6'3", 214. Okay, a little skinny, little skinny, but he's got the height. Bryce Young, he's 5'10", 204. You look at that and you're like, ooh, that's
Yeah.
kind of that's a little rough.
Yeah. But even that, like the 10 extra pounds helps CJ Stroud, in my opinion.
Right, exactly. Be able to stay in that pocket, absorb a hit, and be able to take it, and not just be like, oh no, wow, we really are gonna see this little guy get thrown around.
Yeah.
Especially with where he could be going. You know what I mean? Between Houston and Carolina, it's
Yeah.
rough.
And I think CJ Stroud has kind of more command of his offense in Ohio State. I think that he just really confident back there and makes all the throws. Um, Bryce Young, that first year, I watched a lot of his games, and it was a lot of like read option. Kind of the same play over and over again that Tua would run, but then kind of grew into his own. He was a hell of a lot better player than he was in his first year, and he even he won the Heisman in 2021. I thought he was much better in 2022, but I still just am more confident in going with the sure thing of CJ Stroud over Bryce Young. Not that I don't think that Bryce Young will be good. I just think for the first overall pick, you want the guy that has the size, the passing ability, and is ready to play. Where Bryce Young is that too. Like it's not that far off between the two. I just like CJ Stroud a little bit better. Now, as far as the other quarterbacks, I think there's a huge drop off with the rest of them. I like CJ Stroud. I like Bryce Young. I'm not so sure about the other guys. If I had to rank it, and I'll explain myself, I would go CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, Hendon Hooker, Will Levis, and Anthony Richardson. So my deal with Will Levis is that he kind of reminds me of a good Carson Wentz, if you remember from the Philadelphia days. He can
Yeah.
be nimble in the pocket. He has a good arm.
Big arm.
He just
Yeah.
he just kind of I understand that he played at Kentucky and his offensive line wasn't great. They mentioned that a lot in the broadcast that I watch. He makes plays, but he also doesn't make the most accurate throws at times. And the thing with CJ Stroud and Bryce Young is they are day one starters. If you draft them, if they go 1-2 with Carolina and Houston, those are your guys. With Will Levis, Anthony Richardson, Hendon Hooker, those guys are probably got to sit a year. They're not ready to play right away. So while I think Will Levis is a good talent and weird as hell with his coffee and mayonnaise and eating bananas
His
with the peel on,
bananas. Whoo!
yeah,
I heard about that one today.
you
I was
see,
like, whoa.
you seen the video?
About the banana. About the banana. I was kind of like I was a little dumbfounded. I already heard. I knew about the mayo and the coffee, and I was like, oh my god, this is just. I can't with this dude right now with
Yeah,
that. Please.
he was chomping into those bananas like it was beef jerky with the peel on. It's disgusting, and they're like moldy too. So it's gross.
Oh,
But
please. Stop it.
I think that Will Levis. I know, sorry, bad image, but you could see it online for yourself.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think Will Levis um, will benefit from a quarterback needy team like the Colts or anybody else in the top 10. Um,
Who just needs to
Possibly,
get somebody in there just to have okay, this is a future guy for the future. Just
yeah,
here, okay, we got him. We got him. We drafted him.
exactly. And I think that the Colts would probably most likely want a Will Levis just to have somebody there. Like I don't know if they're going to go for Lamar Jackson, probably not. But and I heard that they're doing their homework on him, as they're doing their homework for everybody. But yeah, Will Levis is a guy that needs to sit this season and learn and benefit from being an NFL quarterback. Anthony Richardson, I understand the physical traits and everything that people like about him. I understand he put on a show at the combine, but with the games that I watched, I am not really that impressed. I saw the other day that Michael Lombardi was talking about how this guy is not a top 10 quarterback. He may fall, and I think so too, honestly. I watched the game where Will Levis and Anthony Richardson played against each other with Florida versus Kentucky. He made a throw, like he threw a pick six. He just made some really bad decisions. So I think he has the skill set, but he needs to learn how to be an NFL quarterback. So I think he's a project kind of like in the way of Trey Lance, where he may have to sit a few years before he's ready. He has all the physical traits, like I said, but he needs to learn how to be an accurate passer. He's got the arm talent. It's just how to be.
He's not accurate. He's not accurate. It's bad. I mean, when you're
Yeah,
throwing in the fifth, when you're completing 50% of your passes, it's not good. That's not
yeah. I
good.
mean, he could be like a Jalen Hurts type where he learns how to be a good passer. But I don't see it yet. So I would say that Anthony Richardson is not like a high priority as far as quarterbacks in this draft, in my opinion. Um, and I'll get to it a little bit here with the Raiders. Just lastly, Hendon Hooker. I think he's the third best QB in this draft. I think that he has very good command of his offense with Tennessee. He's a great passer. Benefits a lot from, I think it's Jalen Hyatt or Wyatt, his wide receiver with the
Yeah.
Tennessee Volunteers. Got a great arm. He's a little elusive too. He can run a little bit. Looks to throw more than run. Reminds me a little bit of Lamar Jackson, but kind of a better passer in my opinion. The injury really hurt him. The torn ACL against South Carolina was really going to hurt him. So while I think he's the third best QB in this draft, he's probably going to be, taken fifth out of the bunch that I just mentioned because of the injury, and I could see him being a second round pick. So this brings me to the Raiders now. And me and Steven have talked about this. Just quickly, Alex, your reaction when Jimmy Garoppolo went to the Raiders, because you're a Niner fan and you watched him play with the Niners. Your thoughts on Jimmy Garoppolo when he was playing for the Niners and now that he's going with the Raiders?
I mean, there have been so many times where you just get so frustrated, with the guy just because of all these kind of things that you wish would have happened, or just kind of some bonehead plays, or just being able to stay healthy. That was one of the biggest things ever for a big knock, was just him being able to be available. And then the fact that, okay, we got all these weapons, we're not really utilizing them to the best of their ability. You know what I mean? I mean, you saw it in spurts that they look good, but it was time. It was time to say so long, farewell, happy trails, move on.
Auf Wiedersehen.
You know what I mean? Auf Wiedersehen, goodbye. Yeah. Goodbye, Mrs. Gloop. Adieu, Auf Wiedersehen, Gesundheit. God bless you.
What the hell are you talking about?
I don't know. Don't worry about it. It's all good. It's fine. Don't worry about it. I don't know. Sometimes I don't even know what I'm saying. Sometimes I just gotta roll with it. But hey, he's back in a system that he knows pretty well, with a guy who trusts him. So I think at least for him, it's like, okay, I know what this is. I don't really need to, like, oh my gosh, I'm not like grinding my gears trying to figure out what this offense is. I know what this is. It's nothing crazy.
Yeah, I wasn't thrilled with the Jimmy Garoppolo signing for the Raiders just because I've seen him with the Niners and there are limitations with him. I don't know how he's going to fit with Davante Adams, and
that's the biggest thing, that it's like, when that came down the wire, it's just like, I don't know how happy he's going to be about this.
Yeah, exactly. Now, when this deal went down, my reaction with Steven is the Raiders, they're fine with Jimmy Garoppolo for now, but they got to trade up to that third spot with Arizona and get a quarterback for the future. Jimmy Garoppolo cannot be your quarterback for the future. And after watching these quarterbacks, I've seen all of the news reports that Josh McDaniels went to go see Will Levis throw. He went to go see Anthony Richardson throw. He went to go see Bryce Young throw. And they even had a meeting with Bryce Young. I don't think the Raiders are getting Bryce Young. I don't think the Panthers nor the Texans will pass up an opportunity to get him. But watching these quarterbacks, I'm not really comfortable with either Will Levis or Anthony Richardson. And this is hard for me to say, but I don't even think the Raiders need to trade up to 3 to get the quarterback that they want. And to be completely honest, I don't think the Raiders need to draft a quarterback at 7. I think they have bigger needs. They can go get a cornerback, whether it's Christian Gonzalez or Witherspoon from Illinois, or even Joey Porter Jr., or even pass rush, because there's going to be a lot of pass rush guys. This is more of a defensive-oriented draft, in my opinion, where they have the 2 big names with Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud, but like I said, it drops off big time there as far as quarterback position. I think that you could get by with Jimmy Garoppolo as your starting quarterback next season and look for a better option long term later on. Because if you're hanging your hat on Will Levis or Anthony Richardson, I don't see it right now. And yeah, it would just be the same thing. Like if the Raiders draft Anthony Richardson, it would be like Jimmy Garoppolo with Lamar Jackson all over again. Anthony Richardson wouldn't be ready to play in probably 2 seasons, in my opinion. And they would
Same
give
thing
a,
with
in
Trey Lance. It's basically what he wanted to get away. Basically, what he wanted to get away from.
exactly. And I think that it's, Jimmy probably will have better command of this offense than he had in the past with the Niners. Just because he knows the familiarity with Josh McDaniels.
Right.
So I mean, I know that Raider fans are going to be, not thrilled about Jimmy Garoppolo this season. I know a lot of them are not, but I would say they can also wait. I remember listening to the interview that Dave Ziegler did with Bussin' with the Boys, where he said we may not find our long-term quarterback this offseason, and that very well could be the case. Now, having said all that, if you do take a defensive player at 7, you do have the ability possibly to draft a Hendon Hooker in the second round, and that's what I would do if he's available. He can work out the ACL tear and everything, but I don't think the Raiders need to go all in on a Will Levis or an Anthony Richardson for this draft. I think I begrudgingly am comfortable with Jimmy Garoppolo and Brian Hoyer as the backup. Good Lord. And that's a move that made me think maybe that they're not going to draft a quarterback too, because you're not going to have 3 quarterbacks on your roster. But then again, you will in training camp. So,
right.
But he signed a 2-year deal, which makes me think that he's going to be there for a little bit of time. But then again, 2-year deal doesn't mean much. So I think that the Raiders should look for other bigger needs in the draft with the 7th overall pick instead of drafting a quarterback, because I am not thrilled with Will Levis or Anthony Richardson.
And you don't want to go into it having to trade up, and then you look, and then it's like, this doesn't look good. We could have just sat at the position, at the draft position that we were at. Either pick something that you need, because you need cornerback, you need offensive line, and you need D lineman. If you get one of these D linemen, out in this draft that could fall, because they could fall. You know what I mean? Let's see. I don't think Anderson's not. He won't fall. He'd probably go to Seattle.
Will Anderson? No.
Wilson. You might get Wilson. Tyree Wilson. That's not a bad call there. You talked about Gonzalez at corner, or Witherspoon. Heck, even like Skoronski, if you need to shore up the offensive line, that's not a bad call.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I said, there are bigger needs for the Raiders. So, and their defense was atrocious a season ago.
Yeah, and you can find quarterbacks like later on in the draft. You can find a quarterback later on in the draft. Sometimes these first round guys don't necessarily work out. And heck, we know that for damn sure. We know that as a fact. Sometimes it's the later round guy that works out a little bit better than the first round guy. Just that's how it happens.
Yeah, so like I said, we'll see how it goes. I at this point, I would not expect the Raiders to trade up to 3. I think they're probably going to stay where they are, and we'll see if Josh McDaniels likes any of these quarterbacks, but I would be okay with them passing on a quarterback in the first round. Now, if Hendon Hooker's available, you can look on that in the second round, but I don't think you need to go all in on a guy this draft in the first round. I don't think that Will Levis or Anthony Richardson are going to be game changers as far as quarterbacks. I think you would make that move for a CJ Stroud or a Bryce Young, but you don't have the ability to do that. So I would wait. And I hope the Raiders aren't, so bad where they're in contention to get Caleb Williams a year from now. And you could look back on this and be like, wow, they had a 7th overall pick and they didn't take a game changing quarterback. I get it. This is the opportunity to do that, but I wouldn't do it. I don't think that either of these guys are those guys. I don't think that Will Levis or Anthony Richardson are going to be game-changing quarterbacks. So that's just my opinion, man.
There you go.
Yeah. Real quick, just to, I'm going to try to do a new position group every time we do a podcast. of just doing a
Okay.
deep dive. So let me just get the running backs out of the way. There's not really a lot of them this season that are big, high profile. There's only two, and really only one, honestly. Bijan Robinson, I've been watching him at Texas. He is hands down the best running back to be an NFL draft prospect since Saquon Barkley, in my opinion. And that's who I would comp him to. He, you know, Saquon Barkley went second, and I don't think any quarterback or I don't think any running back's going to go that high anymore. So you can get him in the late 20s probably, but he's going to be a game changer. He is probably going to be one of the best running backs in football when he hits a football field. He was that much of just a weapon with the Texas Longhorns. Even when they had bad teams, he was the focal point of that offense. He always has been. Sam Ellinger didn't have the best throwing arm and everything, but he worked well with Bijan. So, yeah, I think Bijan's going to tear it up in the NFL, and he's hands down the best running back in this draft. Jahmyr Gibbs is the other guy to be of noteworthy in the draft, and he's got speed. He's extremely fast, but he's more of a pass catching running back, and I see a lot of Alvin Kamara in him. So I would say that maybe late first, but more of early second. I could see for like a team that needs a pass catching running back. I mean, the New England Patriots are all about that. Even the Raiders are all about that. So, I would say that it's not even close. Bijan Robinson is hands down the best running back in this year's NFL draft.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it on the tape and just kind of with his high profile, heck, if he goes to a team, he's day one. I think that needs a running back. He's a day one starter easily.
Oh yeah, I could see him being the change of pace guy. Like, I don't know how long he'll last in the draft, but I could see the Dallas Cowboys being all over him and wanting him to be the change of pace back with Tony Pollard. So, and they franchise tag Tony Pollard, so he may not be the long term guy there.
Right.
But yeah, Bijan's the guy, hands down.
And they talked about
Um,
him at Cincinnati. That could be a good, if they decide to move on
yeah,
from Mixon. Um,
yeah. I
draft
mean,
wise, I want to see. Yeah.
we talked about that yesterday with Mixon probably being released. It looks like that's the case with the Cincinnati Bengals. Again, who knows? There's a lot of reports out there, but with the legal situation he's dealing with right now, they may move on from him. Bijan Robinson would be a great, you know, uh, follow up from Joe Mixon. So we'll see what happens there. But that's that's
He lasts all
Derek's.
the
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Alex.
lasts all the way to 28. That's the thing. That's a big thing. Is he gonna be there for them to draft at 28?
Yeah, exactly. So that's Derek's deep or draft deep dives with the quarterbacks and running backs position. So exciting time for draft, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else, man? I feel like we covered everything today. There was a lot of stuff going on today. Giants came back to win their game today. Excited.
Yeah.
Finally won a game at home this season.
Yeah. I mean, it's again, like I said, it's early, man. It's too
Yeah, I know.
it's too early just to get all hyped up about something. But it's good to see them. It's good to see them win
Yeah.
at Oracle. Yeah, it's good.
I mean, they
Pac
got a
Bell.
late run
Yeah.
at. What's up?
Nothing. Don't worry about it. I was just gonna go through. I was just messing around, going through all the names that it used to be that it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't get their first hit until I think the fifth inning today, but they managed to come back and win that game 3-1 against the Royals. So, and they got a big week ahead with a 3-game stretch against the Dodgers starting tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. A Scott, thank you so much, man. We'll see what happens with Steven. I know he's recovering with the shoulder, so we'll see when he can come back. But really appreciate you filling in the last 2 days, man.
Yeah, it's been fun. Thank you again for having me, and yeah, this is cool, man. Hey, I'm excited to get the I-80 matchup. It's gonna be fun this
Yeah,
next
like
week. It's gonna be awesome.
yeah, well, like I said, the Warriors will tip things off on Saturday, 5:30 against the Sacramento Kings. So next week on the pod, we'll preview the matchup a little bit more. We'll talk about it and get a little reaction to game one. So yeah, fun things ahead. Alex, again, thank you, and say what we always say on this fine podcast. Do you remember? Literally just said it yesterday. Good God.
That's just your opinion, man.
There you go.
Yeah.